there, and welcome back to Don't Open That Door. Come along with our triumvirate of terror as we descend into darkness, hurtle into horror, and plunge into peril. If you've ever wondered if a movie could advertise a monster that actually wasn't in the movie at all, you're in the right place. I'm Justin, and I already live on a planet with vampires.
Ooh. Hi, I'm Nico.
Well, I'm Dan, and I'm a Danpire.
Oh, ho, 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 ho. And we are here today to review Planet of the Vampires. More on that later. This movie was directed by Mario Bava, starring Barry Sullivan as Captain Mark, Norma Aparecida Almeida Pinto Guimarães de Aura Bengal as Sanya, Angel Aranda as Wes, Evie
You say
Morandi
the previous
as
name
Tiona.
perfectly and you fuck up on that?
Can't say Wes Wesson.
Fernando
Where's his
Vilena.
last name?
as Dr. Karan. And that's that.
God.
So, we open up in space with two ships and their intrepid crews. Basically, they have come to this planet known as Planet Aura to investigate some mysterious transmissions from the planet. They decide to head down to the planet to see what's good, but the ships are overtaken by like a ton of G-forces, that's gravity for you squares, and a lot of the crew is rendered unconscious. And from here, we kind of focus more on the crew of the Argos, which is captained by Mark Markery. Yup. When the crew of the Argos wakes up, some of them begin to act really aggressively, attacking the other crew members. Captain Mark manages to shake the crew from their mysterious behavior, and they begin to take stock of their surroundings. So tell me, Nico, what is the first thing the crew does?
The first thing the crew does is they get someone to redo all of their dialogue because this movie's a fucking mess. But anyway, the real first thing the crew do is they try to locate their sister ship, the Galliot, and its crew. When they finally find it, they discover that the entire crew is dead. So they bury the bodies and they keep it moving. As it turns out, the Argos took some damage to its solar battery when it landed on the planet. So Mark tells Wessent, the ship's engineer, to just get on that and fix it. Also, some members of the Argos start thinking that they see dead people, and more of them start exhibiting strange behavior. And Mark theorizes that there's some force on the planet that can control people when they're unconscious.
Well, as you pondered that, Nico, Dan, what's the real story going on here?
Well, the real story is it turns out that the dead folks actually are getting up and walking around because they're being possessed by some mysterious force on the planet. Mr. Markery takes a crew member, Sanya, and they find the ruins of an alien ship that landed on the planet. They then head back to their own ship, but even more crew members have been killed and have gone missing. As if that wasn't bad enough, two members of the crew of the Galliot appear, but everything is not as it seems.
Oh no!
Well, it may not be as it seems to you, but I know Nico folds his seams differently. So, Nico, what's really going on?
I don't even know how to respond to that, but long story short, the two crewmen of the Galliot are actually possessed by aliens that inhabit the planet Aura. Hey, DOTD, isn't this called Planet of the Vampires? Yeah, we know. It just fucking go with us. The Auran sun is dying, and they need to leave the planet ASAP, but they don't have the technology to build a ship and leave. Also, they exist on a different vibrational dimension to us.
Don't worry about it.
Not quite sure about that one. Also, they can not only possess unconscious people, but dead folks as well. So they offer Mark and his crew the option to willingly bond with some of their people to create kind of like a symbiotic pairing, but the crew won't have it because it's not symbiotic at all. It's just like, hey, we're gonna like take over your body and your consciousness. It'll be symbiotic. What? No? It's fucking dumb. Anyway, too bad for everyone involved because the Arans have stolen the Argos' shield generator and they can't leave without it. Womp, womp.
Well, we can't leave without hearing from Dan. So, Dan, what happens next?
Well, Dan says that the remaining crew of Argus hatches a plan. You see, The Arans plan to use the people they have possessed and the stolen shield generator that they put on the Galliot to go back to the crew's home planet and take it over. But the crew of the Argus isn't about to let that happen. They plan to bomb on the Galliot and steal the shield generator back, but all of the crew, with the exception of Wes Wessant, Mark Markery, and Sonya, are killed. As the three head into space, Wes may say shocking discovery. Mark Markery and Sonya are also possessed.
Oh no!
In an attempt to stop them from making their way to his home planet, Wes smashes the shield generator, killing himself in the process, so the aliens won't be able to travel far. The movie ends with the aliens deciding to land on a nearby planet, which just happens to be Earth.
Bum, bum, bum.
The end.
This movie's fucking dumb. I also just want to say really quick, this is one of those synopses where as we were reading this aloud, I was listening and I'm like, this is already kind of hard to follow. So just join us on this ride. It's fine. It's fine.
Well, where this ride starts is with how the movie looks. And I'm going to go ahead and pull an executive move here. I'm going to go first because there's a kind of elephant in the room here, so to speak. The crews of the Galliot and the Argus both have this kind of like insignia on their chest that denotes rank, from what I can see or kind of understand. And the insignia looks very, 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 very similar to some Nazi iconography. So us here on DOTD, we firmly reject any kind of shit associated with that. And I did a truly deep dive to try and find if any of the actors, directors, the movie itself, or even the book upon which this was originally taken from had anything to do with Nazism, the ideology, or anything else like that. I literally could find nothing online, with the exception of one other person who, like me, noted that, hey, there is like some similarity here, but nothing more. And the movie, as far as I can tell or see, doesn't contain any messages that support that either. So I am going to chalk that up to a very unfortunate resemblance in circumstance. But we did do our due diligence, and if we had discovered anything, we would not have put up this movie in any way, shape, or form. That being said, the movie's kind of colorful too on the planet.
Yeah.
But for more on the planet, we touch down now with Nico.
It's a big rocky expanse. There's some color. It's not the best set design, I'm not gonna lie. There are moments where there's splashes of color, and I appreciate that, but between the planet looking kinda sparse, which makes sense because it's fucking space, and the design of the spaceship looking like just truly some of the most bland set design I've ever seen, ever. It just wasn't very engaging. Like, think about just a big ass room surrounded by like metal plating and put a handful of wacky looking zany 60s science contraptions and then get like the fucking Star Trek uniforms for everyone, but give them these weird little fucking dome hat things. It's weird. It's weird.
They all wear leather. They got the leather outfits on deck.
Yeah.
But Dan,
Yeah.
I want to know, we have stage 2 lava in this movie. Spaceships abound. What did you think of the looks?
So I actually kind of liked it. I enjoyed it. It is campy, and I think it's supposed to be kind of campy to an extent, anyways. It reminds me of like a comic book, or like, how in a lot of films of this era, the posters for the films are very like comic booky, sort of.
Mhm.
Like it reminds me of that. I like the colors. I thought it was very like Italian of that like era. But also one thing I want to point out too, I was reading about some of this, and as per Mario Bava, the director, he quote, "Do you know what the unknown planet was made of? A couple of plastic rocks. Yes, two rocks. It was that set was literally made from two plastic rocks that were left over from a different movie." And according to Tim Lucas, who I don't quite remember what part of the movie he added to or did, but they were multiplied in several shots by mirrors and by multiple exposures. The planet's exterior sequences were filmed on an empty stage obscured by mists, tabletop miniatures, and Shuftan process shots, which I learned was Shuftan, if I'm pronouncing that right, is like using mirrors and little miniatures and sets to like make everything seem a lot bigger.
Hmm.
So I thought that was pretty cool that like those sets that, yeah, they do look a little cheesy and they look dated, but I was like, that was only like two rocks. Like it looks like a lot more than that. So I thought that was pretty cool personally. And I think I read that the budget of this film was only $200,000. Like it was a pretty small budget. So like I thought they did a pretty good job. It again still ends up being pretty campy, but I thought they did a pretty good job of an entire budget of 200 grand.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And now going to the sound design, Nico, as the person with the most Italian blood on the pod, I have to ask you, why is it whenever we watch Italian movies on the pod, they do this thing where they get people of entirely different nationalities who don't speak the same language? Fuck it, everyone speaks whatever language you speak and we'll dub it in post. What's good with that?
Here's my fucking thought. You have like a homemade Italian, like family style dinner. You want everyone in there, right? Like it's a
Yes.
celebratory affair. So you want to bring in, you know, your buddy Big Tony, your buddy Alfredo, your buddy Mehmet. I don't fucking know. And it's like, look, just say whatever the fuck you think you're meant to be saying. Just like try to act like the character you're acting like, and we'll fix it in post. It's fine. You won't look like you're having a stroke. You will. You will 100%. Everyone in this movie looks like they're having a stroke at some point.
I thought it was interesting because at times the dialogue choice was pretty clear. They were trying to line up the lip flaps with some of their choices. So, for
It's
example,
fucking uncanny, right?
at one point in time, and this stood out to me the most, the subtitle said in 15 seconds, but the character said in a quarter of a minute. Now, in my entire English speaking fucking life, nobody has ever said
What fucking says that?
a quarter of a minute when you're trying to say 15 seconds. No one has said that. So that's
Christ
pretty clear,
above.
a lip flap trying to match up thing. But Dan, what'd you think of
I'm
the
gonna
sound?
start saying a quarter after a minute.
Oh,
Fuck all the way off.
No, I totally agree with the dubs. They were a little distracting and not great. I don't know why it's an Italian thing. I guess that they just decided to do that. Similar to some of the visuals, I kind of enjoyed a lot of the like sci-fi sound design. Like they're like really campy, really cheesy, just what you would expect from old ass sci-fi movies of weird, wonky synthesizer sounds and stuff. And
Yeah.
definitely is not a very serious kind of sound. But I thought it kind
Mhm.
of added to the charm a little bit. It was entertaining.
mm-hmm. Well, with that being said, let's go ahead and get the ball rolling here. And first off, let me say, I know we're just coming off of watching Underworld not too long ago, but where's my vampires? Wasn't no Kate Beckinsale in this movie. There were no vampires. Literally, not one vampire was in this movie. Why is it called Planet of the Vampires? Can you hazard a guess?
Nope. No, I cannot.
I think it's got to be some sort of very extended metaphor for like vampires are kind of parasitic. These alien zombie motherfuckers are also kind of parasitic, but that's almost like if you were having a movie about your pet cat and you titled it Lion King when you have like a big fucking, I don't know, why can't I think of names of cats? Cat,
Gizmo.
Gizmo, sure, yeah. House cat versus, I don't know, it's a mess, just like me. So
Well,
maybe in that way it gets bonus points in my heart.
well, that's fair. But now I have an even more interesting point to tell you guys about. Nico, there's a movie that you hold near and dear to your heart.
Okay,
It's called Alien.
absolutely.
I heard that this movie actually influenced Alien.
Dude,
For
I don't
more on-
fucking understand that.
Well, you lack understanding, but that's okay because school's in session. Professor Dan, can you speak to the influence of this movie on Alien?
Yes, Mr. Dan Daniels in the house here can speak to
Oh.
that. So both Ridley Scott and Dan O'Bannon
That sounds like a fake name.
maybe is have said that they have not seen this movie prior to making Alien.
Good.
And then Dan O'Bannon backtracked a little bit later and said, "Oh yeah, I have seen
Oh.
it." So
Aw.
first, if we think about the plot is kind of similar actually, because you have a space crew who hears like distress signals or signals from a planet, and they go to investigate. They explore alien planet and alien ship. They find alien remains, and then they get attacked by alien. And at the end, they don't know who's alien, who's not alien. And I guess that's about it. So that's sort of plot similarities. But then we have a scene that's pretty much shot for shot in Alien.
What do you mean?
So
Which shot was that?
in the scene when Mark Markery is and Sonya are exploring the alien ship that they find,
Yeah.
they walk in and like it's almost shot for shot in actual Alien, where they're like traverse part of the planet and then they go into the alien ship, and it's long dark hallway. Character comes out from the dark hallway and they see a big skeleton of a former
That shit
alien
looks so
race.
fucking goofy.
Yep. But Dan O'Bannon has said that he took the skeleton in Alien directly from this movie.
No shit. All
Yep.
right. Well,
And I don't know exactly how much influence he added necessarily, but special effects master Carlo Rambaldi, who worked on Alien, also worked in this film. I don't believe he was one of like the main special effects guys. I don't think. I might be wrong, but he was involved. So there is definitely alien influence on Alien.
That is mad interesting.
wow. Okay.
I just want to say shout outs to you, HR Geiger, for your contribution towards completely making it really cool.
He's the goat.
But it is good to know. Now, just as kind of like a quick note on the plot, because I feel like I have to say this. This plot has a ton of plot holes, yo.
Yep.
Straight up. Like, what planet did the humans come from if they didn't come from Earth? What, like...
Burf.
Yeah, maybe. But, like, only 2 of the aliens escape at the end of the movie. And they start talking about, and those who will follow us. Who?
Bitch, who's following you?
Your planet's gonna die. Your son's dying. And you said you didn't have the technology to build a ship. So who's gonna follow you? How do they even know where you are?
You gotta like and subscribe to find out.
Yeah, pretty much, right? But also, the part that really killed me was this. There's a scene in the movie, it's not really a plot hole, it's just my quote, where the dude, one of the aliens goes, "You can't harm me with violence." And then 2 seconds later, they shoot him, and sure enough, they fuck him up with violence.
Yeah,
completely
sure
fine. So pretty clearly, you could, in fact, harm them with violence. But I want to ask, in this movie, in this forbidden planet of sorts, is there a scene that you would say is the best scene? A scene that was your favorite?
Probably the one you just described, just because I was so taken aback. Like, did you think this was going to work? Very clearly, you can have violence done to you. You great effects.
Dan, what's your favorite scene in this one?
Can I cheat and give 1.5 favorite scenes?
Oh, go for it.
Thank you. So probably my favorite scene, I think, is when they are exploring the other alien ship. I actually kind of thought that was kind of cool. I like the design of that ship and seeing them go through that giant ship and just all the different lights and stuff. Though I did think
It's probably the coolest part of the movie.
Yeah. I did think it was pretty comical when Sonya like touched that thing and got shocked. And then Mr. Markery was like, "What happened?" "Oh, I touched that thing and got shocked." And he's like, "Oh, okay, let me touch it too." And then gets shocked. And like,
Stupid
yeah, no shit.
motherfucker.
But I think that was probably my favorite scene. And the half one, I think, was the part when Captain Mark Markery was like writing in his journal. And he was writing about how like a captain should never be afraid. And then he admitted in his journal that he is afraid. He has fear, I think is what he said. I'm experiencing fear. But he was like, I can't let my crew members see that. Like I have to be strong for them. And then he gets interrupted by some bullshittery. But I thought that was kind of a cool, like little deeper look into his character. I wish there was a little bit more of that kind of stuff in the movie, but I kind of enjoyed that 1 minute that we got there.
I mean, I think my favorite scene in the movie. So for some reason, like literally 70% of the crew dies on guard duty, and guard duty
Yeah.
is pretty much you're about to get murked.
Yeah.
But the best part about guard duty is they're not guarding anything. Like they're
They're really
guarding the
not.
outside of a ship
Holy shit, they're
the-
not. Yeah.
that the aliens can't get in.
Yeah, every time they put somebody on guard duty, they're like, wait out here. I'm like, why not just go into the ship with everyone else? Like, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
No, the worst part was when Captain Markery takes the chick into the spaceship and he tells one dude, you stand out here and keep watch. For what? What? Y'all came out here to explore. Why would you leave the guy with the gun outside? But also I was like, are you guys going in there to like bang or something? Like, what is going on? Like, why are you like leaving this guy out?
Fucking maybe.
But I mean, they did go through some asphyxiation. But the main thing for me was there was a scene where there was like 3 guards, bro. Like 3 guards. And all of a sudden, some like colorful lights appear in front of them. And they're like, oh, look at the lights. And then someone dies because all 3 of the guards were watching the colorful lights. And I was like, yo, y'all suck. I'm sorry. Y'all suck. So that was probably for me. That was probably it for me. Now I have a second question here. And it's not a what would you do. The what would you do is for sure coming up.
Okay.
But
okay.
I think this movie does have some good ideas. If you could change something in the movie to improve it, what would you do?
Everything.
We'll just pick like one thing to change. The majorest thing to change.
For me, I think I would improve the dialogue and just have better
Yeah.
conversations between the characters because I think that would improve the film a lot.
100% agreed. Yeah, I was telling these two before we went on to record that this movie has now eclipsed both versions of Night of the Demons in holding the title of this has the cast that I give the least amount of fucks about at all. I have already forgotten some of the names of the characters during this recording session, and it's the rest of them are going to leave real fucking quick. Like, there was zero charisma anywhere in this movie. And it was just kind of painful to watch. It was campy, and that did make up for some of it, but it fucking dragged, man. And it didn't feel like it was an hour and 20 minutes. It felt like much longer to me.
I will say for me, the one thing I would change is how the aliens function and how they work. I think it would have gone much better if it was like a more physical thing. So like if they were more like vampires, and even if they could like just take people over by maybe like getting them alone and biting them or something like that. And that way it's kind of like The Thing almost. Like you don't really know who's changed and who's not. And that would be a great way to instill more paranoia. Because the
For sure.
operative thing to do here is just don't die and don't go to sleep alone. So, yeah. But for the what would you do? Pretty simple question here I'm going to pose to the room. Let's say you're part of the crew, you land on the planet, and you know of the aliens' powers, right? What would be your plan to get back home? How would you handle the situation?
So like in this scenario, could we just like not up and fucking leave, or what are the boundaries here?
Well, you have to wait for your generator to be repaired, and the aliens also took you have to wait for the battery to be repaired,
Mhm.
and the aliens have taken the shield generator.
Okay. Well, I mean, these aliens were like not very threatening at all. So I would just like go up to them and be like, yo, what's good? You want the smoke? Let's fucking go.
All right, so you take a more kind of confrontational approach.
100%.
Dan, how about you?
I don't know. All I can really think of is the plan that they had because I feel like you can't really kill them. Well, we don't know that you can kill them or not because, like, what happens when the host body dies? Like, they might just go somewhere else. I don't know.
People die when they're killed.
Sometimes, but you can't hurt
Yeah.
them with violence, or can you? So, and you can't take too long because if you go to sleep, then they'll be able to infect you too. So I don't know. I feel like I would try to steal the shield. I would probably do what they did, to be honest. I got nothing on this one.
See, I'm actually going to go the Nico route, but even more intense.
Okay.
So what I would do is I would have everyone kind of get like some folks would have ranged weapons and some folks would have like melee
Mm.
weapons. I'd be like, listen, if anybody dies, chop out their head. Straight up. If anyone dies, just chop out their head. And as soon as I start fighting the enemies, like when you get them knocked down, chop out their head.
Yeah,
Because what are they going to do? They can't see if they do possess the body. So that's simple win. Take the dub, get the generator, go back home.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So that's how I see things. But now, of course, we must turn to the greatest section of all, the critic review.
I
What
truly
do
have
you-
no fucking idea.
Well, I'm sorry that you think that because I'm going to ask, what do you guys think this movie has on Rotten Tomatoes? And I'll tell you right now, I think the score is all right. They were pretty nice to it.
62.
I'm gonna say 69.
Again? Okay, sure.
It actually does have a 69% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I'm fucking ashamed that I didn't. God damn it.
That went right over your head on that one.
I'm a fucking mess today, man.
Audience was not so nice with a 52%. But as we say, it's not about the world. It's about you. So tell me, what do you think this movie has? Give a quick, brief kind of synopsis of your thoughts on it.
All right, so I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to say who I think this movie is for. I think this movie is for someone who really loves campy stuff, someone who really likes to see, influences to big hitters in the genre, and maybe you're a fan of foreign film. If you satisfy all of those criteria and you can kind of turn your brain off for a lot of the movie, then you could have an okay time. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Having said that, I didn't enjoy this at all. I really didn't like the set design. The characters were bland. There was no fucking vampires, so that was disappointing. I'm giving this a 33.
Wow! Dan, me or you?
I'll go. Like I kind of said before, I thought this was kind of fun. It was relatively campy, and I enjoyed the visual aspects of it. And I appreciate the limitations that they had and how they got around it.
For
But
sure.
like Nico said, and we've talked about, there's a lot of plot issues and the dialogue wasn't great. There's definitely a lot of issues with the film. I'm gonna give it a 65.
Mm-hmm.
Much higher than I was expecting.
Well, I'll say this. I echo everything the two of you say. I agree with you, Nico. This is for people who are as you described, but I think also like if you're a fan of like the old Star Trek, you might find a little bit of connection with this one.
Yeah.
But I just want to go a little more into the deception part. As somebody who like I fucking love vampire films, why you got to do that to me? But even then, there are like movie
real.
posters of this. Like, there's what I'm looking at right now. It says 10,000 years ago or 10,000 years to come. Are they beings of the future or the past? These men who rule the demon planet. And the cover has a
Oh,
bunch
it's a
of,
demon planet now?
and the astronauts have a bunch of guns and they're fighting what looks to be like giant skeletons with helmets or whatever that look.
Where was this movie?
Those skeletons look like the skeleton that they found, like the corpse or whatever,
Mhm.
when they were exploring the spaceship. And I'm like, what happened? Because that sounds like a badass movie right
That
there.
sounds tight as fuck.
And I'm like, yo, imagine if they did go down there and like maybe the vampires bit giants and turned them into literal giant vampires.
We should
Like,
make
that'd
a
be
movie
sick.
like that.
Yo.
No, what we need to do is make a movie about how an unnamed, dictator created a vampire, right? And sent him out in the world But no.
Hey, I seen the scene in this film though that they stole from Trigonator though.
Oh, what was that?
Oh,
In
shit,
one
word?
of the end fight scenes, Captain Markery was like he lost his gun, and Sonya like picks it up and tosses it to him from off screen. So he's just like standing there, and the gun just like flies into his hands.
Yeah.
Oh, was it? Well, to me, and then,
Yeah.
it just like showed up.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah.
Deep inside joke. But no. So anyhow, past all that, I'm gonna give this one a 54. I don't think it's that great. I don't think it's that bad. I think it's just kind of schlocky, campy, and kind of sucky. Also, the characters, cardboard cutouts, all
Yeah,
of them.
definitely.
Very, very milquetoast. I didn't give a shit about anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually actively hoping the captain would die.
Literally.
That being said, is this going to get a recommendation? No, right, Nico?
Nope.
No,
No.
I don't think so for me, unless with the caveat like Nico kind of mentioned, if you really like shocky horror film, sure. But other than that, no.
Well, if you're a fan of this movie or a fan of
Why?
vampires who's pissed off, hit us up. We're on social media on Twitter and Instagram at DOTD Horror. We're also on Facebook. That's Don't Open That Door. Plus, you can check everything we've done on our website, which is, of course, dotdhorror.com. But till then, look out for one another. Stay away from the planet of the vampires. And as always, dear listener, don't open that door. Bye.